The premier esport organizations in the DMV have teamed up to bring you the DMV's End of Summer Bash. Join us for a 3-day online extravaganza to help raise money for the Extra Life Foundation and Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. Taking place August 21st through the 23rd, the DMV's End of Summer Bash will be jammed-packed with panels, tournaments, and giveaways for parents, gamers, and the esport community. Each day will feature TED Talk-style presentations, panels on hot topics in esports, and youth showcases. Think you have what it takes to be the best gamer? Sign up for one or all of the End of Summer Bash's tournaments, including Overwatch, Rocket League, and VALORANT. The Bash will be broadcast live on Twitch, and proceeds will go to benefiting the Children's National Hospital through the Extra Life Foundation. Don't miss out on the hottest event this summer. For more information, check out GameGym.com/summer-bash. What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to episode 180 of the LvLUp Podcast, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Jon, and I am joined by the man who, if you put a knife through him, surprise, he's not cake. He's a real person. The king of the courtside, Joey. What's up, buddy?
Wow, I did not expect that one today, sir. That was a slice of entertainment coming out right at the top here. Oh, you changing some levels?
I don't know if OBS fixed their levels or not, but you came across hard there on OBS there for a second. You mind talking again real quick so I can just double check here?
Check 1 2. We're doing it live, Jon. How's it coming out?
Oh my gosh, they may have actually fixed their audio settings. That is impressive. I'm just gonna give you a slight boost just in case. Just give you a slight boost there.
We'll see. I'm sure chat will fill us in if it gets too loud or gets too quiet.
Nation, follow Joey's adventures of a living cake. He's not a cake, trust me. If you cut him, he's not a cake. Been there, done that. Follow him at Courtside King. And while you're at it, make sure you give myself, Fiasco, hello, that's me, a follow as well. If you're watching here live on Twitch, welcome as always. You can find those handles right below those mugshots you're currently staring at. If you're listening on the podcast catcher of your choice later on down the road, it's a Monday, Joey. It'll be in the show notes for you below. And Nation, as always, if you wish to listen to the podcast version of the show, the podcast is available on Spotify and Stitcher, as well as iTunes and Google Play. Since you're already listening, why not leave us a really awesome review while you're there as already? Or tell a friend, leave a really cool review. Anyway, it's fine. But we would appreciate it as it does help grow the community and the show. So we'd be very happy if you took a moment out of your day to leave us a really awesome review. Nation, let's get into it. An old friend is coming back. A friend that was there for us way before he was cool. Of course, I'm talking about the OG of gaming television. G4 is making a comeback. They are rising from the dead, or cancellation, one of the two. Joey, aside from G4 magically reappearing when all of a sudden there's going to be another gaming network popping on TV, what else are we talking about this week on episode 180?
Jon, as always, we are catching the listeners up on some exciting roster moves happening across many different scenes. We are talking a partnership made in heaven between Microsoft and Bungie. We're talking Logitech and their new expensive gaming chair. Will you be picking one up? We'll find out later. Going through the Xbox Game Showcase, some of the highlights that stuck out to us, as well as maybe taking some questions from chat and much, much more.
Joey, I'm so unprepared for this. I'm literally making my drink before we go into the segment. Joey, I have a feeling there's some pretty awesome news in this episode. Especially at the end of the episode, I feel like there's going to be some pretty awesome news. For those of us, at least here at the LvLUp Podcast and OTN Media. So we're going to tease it a little bit here and there, but you definitely want to stay tuned. There's going to be some really cool announcements coming on at the end of the show. But Joey, those announcements will never come if we don't even have our assistants to get through episode 180. And of course, I'm talking about the drink of choice. So Joey, the 180th time, because we're totally responsible adults doing this, your beverage of choice, please.
Jon, I think I made a mistake. I thought I was going to match you and go water or something like this week, which I did. I went water. I went pure for episode 180, but it sounds like you're mixing something up over there.
I am. So in honor of the new Seattle hockey team, that quite possibly has the best name in the NHL. This is completely not esports related whatsoever. I was feeling frisky. I wanted to try a different kind of rum. So I went over to the local ABC store. So for those of you in Virginia, the government runs alcohol. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. It's absurd. It's a racket. Virginia made billions of dollars last year because of it. But hey, I paid $11 for this. Kraken Black Rum, Joey. Gonna go ahead and give this a shot. Mixing it with a little bit of a ginger beer. It's actually non-alcoholic. I was surprised that ginger beer was non-alcoholic. So I am sipping what they call a dark and stormy in my Washington Nationals World Series champions pint-sized glass. Maybe it's not a pint. I don't know. I can't tell what the difference is. It's a pint. It's weird. So that's what I'm having, Joy. And you said you're having water?
Just water, dude. I was about to pour a double bourbon. I was like, I just don't want to be that guy who's drinking alcohol while John is not for like the third or fourth show in a row. So I cut back and I went easy. And apparently I made the wrong choice.
You made a mistake that is unforgivable.
So much for solidarity.
Joey has water. I have alcohol for a change. Joey, I have a feeling this is going to be a great episode. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right into gaming and esports news. Let's go.
John, kicking things off with League of Legends roster moves. 100 Thieves, they have stolen a couple wins these last couple weeks, and because of that, they have decided to make a new roster move. They're moving forward with contracts in the jungle, and they are actually releasing Meteos. So this is a big kind of news in a sense. Contracts, who played for Cloud9, then he played for Golden Guardians. Very talented young jungler, but he hasn't really found a consistent role within the LCS the last couple of years, while Meteos on the other side has had that same perspective, but from a veteran side. Being shifted around teams here and there. He's good for teams because he brings a lot of strategy to the table and he brings that veteran presence. But at least for 100 Thieves, it looks like they will be moving forward with contracts.
So as a fan of both of these players, I feel bad for Meteos. He's kind of bounced around a little bit over the past couple of splits. Obviously, he's an original Cloud9 jungler, so Meteos near and dear to my heart. Contract's a little bit newer. Coming up through Cloud9 as well, then bouncing around a little bit. Contracts. So both players have incredible skill in the jungle. Two very different mindsets when it comes to jungle. I feel like Meteos is a little bit more aggressive and doesn't have a problem taking those big risks. He's very much a traditional OG Cloud9 player. Big risk, big reward, big downside if it doesn't work. And that's kind of how Meteos made his name. Contracts a little more tamer than Meteos, more of a team player. I do like both players, but I think going forward, this was a good decision for both 100 Thieves and Meteos to split and part ways. And I think it's an absolutely great opportunity for Contracts now, stepping back into a starting role to really prove his worth on his starting roster in the LCS.
And I mean, I'm in no place to really judge mechanical play of people in League of Legends.
That too.
But at the same point, I feel like Contracts brings a lot more to the table in that area than Meteos. When we look at esports in general, as you get older in age, your mechanics generally fall off a bit more. And Contracts is one of those players who on the younger side is now starting to get his mechanics really flowing in place. And I feel like that's another big reason to make this move. I need water quickly. There we go. Now that the whistle is wet, moving on to the next one, League of Legends still. Evil Geniuses. John, we predicted this last week. They have moved forward with signing Golden Glue. I think this is a great move overall. Now as Evil Geniuses, you can run like a 7-man roster here. If you run Golden Glue in the mid lane, then you have the ability to bring Huni in the top lane and not use that import slot. While on the opposite side, if you want to, you can run Kumo up in the top lane and bring Jizuke into mid. This is really good for a roster as far as flexibility, because now if Huni's having one of those weeks where he's not looking all that great, he's not playing the carry style that he can, you can throw some consistency up there with Kumo, then you bring Jizuke back into the mid lane. This is going to allow a lot of flexibility by matchups in general. So like if you're playing a really strong mid lane one week and maybe you feel like you need to have more control in the mid lane, you could swap Jizuke in there, move Huni back out of the top lane. It just allows for a lot of flexibility, both in strategies, both in setting up for matchups in general. And I think really moving forward, this is setting up this EG roster to be very scary, because come next season, when Huni has his import, where he no longer takes up an import slot, you could look at Huni in top lane, you could look down in mid lane with Jizuke as well, and still have Golden Glue there as a substitute. So this EG roster, maybe not this season in particular, but the potency could really be there moving forward into next season.
Yeah, I think it's great for Golden Glue. We've hit on it here and there throughout Golden Glue's career in the LCS. Always second fiddle, it feels like, when he does get these opportunities. He usually does pretty good, or it's really, really bad. Golden Glue has made a lot of strides, especially in the past year and a half. I like this. It's a smart move for Evil Geniuses. I like the move for Golden Glue. It's going to give him another opportunity to get into a rotation with an LCS team, to be on the main stage. Just like you said, Joey, those lineup switches when it comes to import rules. So I like this move. It allows a lot of flexibility for Evil Geniuses. And, I mean, Golden Glue's not a bad player. When you surround him with the right players, he's definitely a role player. He's not a carry. but he's definitely more of a role player, and I like this signing overall for both Evil Geniuses and Golden Glue. I think Golden Glue can really, really bloom in this kind of scenario for him.
Yeah, I don't think Golden Glue's ever going to be your franchise player, though, overall. I think it's more of one of those players that you can slot in. He'll be consistent here and there. He'll allow you to build a roster, maybe not necessarily around him in particular, but to build with a roster. He brings good feedback to the table. A lot of players have mentioned like he's very good strategically. He's able to add a lot into that environment as far as like analyzing matches or thinking of new draft picks. So I think he brings a lot in that area. But overall, I do think Jizuke is the more mechanically talented player. And that kind of comes back to setting up for next year. Because next year, being able to field Huni and Jizuke on the same roster with that import rule no longer really coming into place. You got Sven Skaren in the jungle, Zazel down there in the bot lane, as well as Bang. So it's a very, very talented roster overall. And I think moving forward with this young talent coming in and now allowing Huni back onto there, it's just, I really love the flexibility. And I think this is one issue that we don't necessarily see in the LCS as much. Some people just go with a pure 5-man roster. And when they make changes, it's like the whole academy team comes up. I just want to see a roster that's like 6 or 7 people. Maybe you start 5 mainly all the time, but you have one that can switch in based on matchups. I think EG has the potential with this roster to do that. Over to some FPS games in Call of Duty League, we have the Chicago Huntsmen welcoming back Maniac from Optic. And then over in Valorant, we have FaZe Clan adding another player. This time, Zachary is their latest member of the squad. Zachary formerly played for Renegades, Fusion University, and the Dallas Fuel in the Overwatch League. I don't know if there's too much else we need to touch on there, John. I feel like both players are talented. Both players could fit in well with the squad. As far as Maniac goes, we know he's played well with the Huntsmen before. We know he's worked with that organization. When it comes to Zachary, it's a little bit different because he is switching over from Overwatch League. We've seen some success from players doing that. Corey and Sinatra are both kind of starting to find their place. Their viewership on Twitch is a little bit down, switching communities. But overall, mechanically speaking, it seems like they're starting to click in Valorant a bit more and more as we go. Then with Zachary, I feel like it's going to be similar. He's not a big name like a Corey or Sinatra, but he is one of those players that could probably fill a role as a role player into this lineup.
In the words of DJ Khaled, another one. Another Overwatch pro, former Overwatch pro, making that jump into Valorant. I mean, it's not really surprising. I mean, it's a trend that started, as soon as the Valorant pro scene, if you will, manifested itself overnight. It's not a surprise. It really isn't. A lot of these players in Overwatch got their start in FPSs. They wanted to go pro in FPSs, and then Overwatch came along. They were able to use their mechanics and skill in that set. And then when Valorant came out, obviously you're going to be excited to switch over. He's definitely not going to be the last Overwatch pro to make that jump. I would definitely keep an eye out for more pros to make that jump eventually. I'm not going to say the entire Overwatch League is making the jump, but you're going to hear more players look at making that jump. So Valorant taking another Overwatch pro going forward.
Yeah, and it's not just Overwatch League either. We do know a few other Overwatch League pros have stepped down and just have not announced Valorant teams yet. Same thing with CSGO as well. We've seen some players step back and say they'll be pursuing careers in Valorant. We just don't know what team they'll be doing that with just yet. But yeah, I don't want to say there's a ton more moves coming, but I feel like there will be a considerable amount still being shifted around here and there. As far as the Overwatch League goes, I think more of them will come at the end of the season. So once we see the end of this particular season, I think we might see a new little flock of players come over because some players don't really feel the need to leave this late in the season. Their team might be competing for a prize pool. They might have potential just cleaning the season out because a lot of teams are still not signing Valorant pros yet. Come the end of the Overwatch League season, I think we see more and more movement toward the Valorant scene. And last but not least, for roster signings, we move over to FIFA. Dribble this soccer ball, John. Fnatic has signed Harry to join fellow competitor Tex after Harry was on loan from Fnatic, or to Fnatic from #United. I believe the loan was back in March, if I remember correctly. They did quite well in a tournament. I want to say Tex and Harry both made Final Four, maybe, at least Elite Eight. So they compete well together. They get along together. I believe they're both British as well, so they have that in favor. But overall, these two are great at producing content together, both good at playing together. Now Fnatic having 2 FIFA pros under their umbrella also allows them to enter some of these doubles competitions as well. I like this move overall. I think FIFA is a growing scene worldwide. EA does have questions that they need to answer, whether it be where should we start, John? Services in general. I feel like the servers need some upgrades. Games cannot be decided by rock, paper, scissors either. But the FIFA scene in general is growing. It's doing very well, in particular over in Europe. So hopefully this is another step forward for the org as well as the FIFA scene in general.
Joe, I just love how this is like phrased for our show here. What is more soccer/football-esque than a player on loan to an organization, then that organization buying out the loan for the full transfer to their squad after that loan is complete? I think it's so soccer-esque, if you will. I like this. I think this is a smart move for Fnatic. I think they saw the power that these two players can bring when they're together, making that content, playing together. You do not want to destroy chemistry. Chemistry is something that takes time to develop. And when it's there, when you see that spark, don't mess with it unless you need to make a really major shakeup in your organization. I think this is a smart move by Fnatic, and I couldn't be happier to see both of these players go forward together.
Yeah, and I think this was one of those moves that's been in the works for a while. I feel like they let the loan happen, and then from there, they kind of let the contract run up with #United, which, by the way, the names Harry and #United also kind of have that soccer vibe to them in general, don't they? Absolutely love it. But yeah, great move overall from Fnatic. Over to partnerships and investments. John, I know you've been looking here and there at different gaming chairs. How do you think about this one, or what do you think about this one? Logitech. They have teamed up with Herman Miller, very known for office chairs, very well known for office chairs, make the highest quality office chairs really worldwide in general. Now they're teaming up with Logitech for a gaming chair. And John, this pretty puppy is going to run for $1,500, $1,495 in fact, to be completely exact. But John, are you looking at blowing over $1,000 for a gaming chair anytime in the near future?
Hard pass. No, absolutely not. It doesn't even look cool. Like, okay, don't get me wrong. The black chair with a hint of like metallic, like Logitech G line blue that's scattered around. Yes, it does look kind of cool. No, I'm not dropping $1,500 on a freaking chair. It's hard enough justifying spending $400 on a gaming chair already as it is. I mean, let's be real here. They look cool. They're somewhat comfortable. They can recline. You can fall asleep at your desk. Who doesn't love doing that on a weekend, or in some of my cases, working on OTN stuff overnight? So, no, I'm not going to pay $1,500 for a Logitech gaming chair that looks like a pimped out office chair with blue metallic stuff all over. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I get it. Herman Miller is like the top of the line when it comes to office chairs. They're the best of the best. Logitech, a lot of people could argue they're the best of the best when it comes to peripherals as well for the computer. But if I'm looking at spending that much, I mean, what is that, John? Like 4 Secret Lab chairs, 4 AK racing chairs, 4 of any other computer chair practically out there, or gaming racing style chair. I mean, it doesn't add up to me. Like, it's a great chair. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's ergonomically perfect in the line of Herman Miller. But overall, like, I feel just as comfortable that I can get up from a Secret Lab chair and feel perfectly fine at a quarter of that price.
Look, I'm going to be honest. If I'm going to spend that kind of money, I'm going to spend it on a Fnatic Gucci watch and not a Logitech gaming chair. Sorry, Joe. Okay. I had to.
Yeah, but seriously, you would not do that, right?
No, I wouldn't do for either. I think they're both.
I would take the chair over the watch, but I mean, overall, like, yeah, no one needs to spend that much money. Though, if you have a lot of money laying around and you want a really nice office gaming chair, there you go. Herman Miller and Logitech coming through in the clutch. Microsoft and Bungie are back at it again, John, this time reigniting their legendary partnership in a new light, or, well, beyond light in this case. Destiny is coming to Xbox Game Pass. It was announced at the Xbox Game Showcase in July. On top of that, their newest DLC, Beyond Light, will also be coming to Game Pass subscribers in November when that drops. So if you're looking to hop into Destiny to get all that DLC in one place, it sounds like Xbox Game Pass will be a new home for that as well.
I was expecting a little bit more whenever you talk about the Game Pass, Joe. I was expecting at least
there'll be plenty more Game Pass to talk about today, John. Don't worry about that. What are your thoughts, though, by this move? I like this move. I think it benefits Microsoft because there are a lot of Destiny players out there. So I think it's a little win for them, but a lot of those people already own Destiny. I think the bigger win in my mind is for Bungie, because now Bungie has this new platform. They're practically free to play anywhere at this point because they had a little Battle.net free time. They've been free on Xbox and PlayStation multiple times now. This, to me, is a way to say, hey, Destiny's still going. It's still getting new expansions. It's still getting great new content. This is now a new way to buy into that for people that are already showing they're trying new games in Game Pass.
It's definitely a bigger win for Bungie. I'm going to tell you why. Destiny, the entire saga of Destiny, has been hype followed by disappointment. Destiny 2 followed the same path that the original Destiny went down. There was all this hype. There was all this amazing hype around the game, and it fell short. And then they started releasing DLCs and people started trickling back. But overall, it was a mixed response. It wasn't overwhelmingly positive, and it definitely wasn't overwhelmingly negative. But the issue is it wasn't enough. There's content. And, Joey, if I'm going to pay $60 for a game, I'm going to want more than 3-4 hours worth of content. I'm expecting something that's going to take me days to get through. I don't want to have to wait for extra content or extra DLC. That's the issue that Destiny and Destiny 2 had, was on the content side for the story, it was lacking. Now, on the PvP side, that's a completely different story. But Destiny was originally trying to sell the idea of this story, kind of almost like an open world Halo kind of idea, trying to play off of that kind of success. And it didn't really work, and it alienated a lot of people. The problem is word of mouth reviews spread like fire. People are so much more willing to give a bad review than a good review on anything. So when it came to Destiny, that's essentially what happened. I pre-bought Destiny 2. I played it for about a month, and I stopped because I was disappointed with the game and the direction it was going. The great thing with Bungie and Destiny 2 here, partnering up with Microsoft and putting it on the Xbox Gaming Passes, now you're going to have those people that may have heard those negative thoughts, negative reviews, but also heard positive reviews from other gamers. Maybe they read some positive content online. Now they're going to be willing to say, hey, look, I'm already paying $5 for the Microsoft Game Pass. I'm going to go out and try Destiny. I'm going to download it. I'm going to see for myself. It is so much easier to try a game when you're paying $5 a month for any game you want, pretty much, than it is to drop $60 on a game that you may or may not like. It's a huge win for Bungie because now it's going to allow those people who are kind of there in the middle that don't want to commit to the game because they've heard bad things, but then they're still kind of curious. It's going to grow the player base, and I think overall it's going to be good for Destiny 2 and Bungie.
Yeah, I think it's big for new players. Like I said, Game Pass has shown time and time again that it's allowing new players to kind of jump into stuff they probably wouldn't buy or try themselves just because they pay that subscription price. But also, John, I'm thinking of returning players as well. Maybe those players who bought Destiny 2 at the beginning or at launch or close to launch, but they haven't kept up with all the expansion since then. And they're like, ooh, I want to jump back in and try it, but do I really want to pay $20 per expansion to do that and to jump back in and to end up paying, I don't know what it is, $60, $80 at this point. I don't know how they couple all the expansions, but I think they're $20 on launch. So at this point, you have that wall. Like, why do I want to jump back in if I have to pay for more content anyway? With it coming to Game Pass and all of that expansion content going free to play, I think that's a huge win. I think that's your way of not only bringing in new players, but also bringing in some of those veteran players who might have stepped away because of those money barriers that were put down after that initial season pass or whatever it was called. So I think this is a huge win again. I think it's a little bit of a win for Microsoft, but overall a very, very big win for Bungie trying to reignite that Destiny universe. Let's talk a little bit about earnings calls, John. We only have news from one of them at the moment. We're still waiting on a couple like EA and Activision and Sony, but at least per their earning call last week, Microsoft reported that Xbox content and services revenue was up 65%. That is a ginormous amount year over year to be up 65%. Obviously, a lot of this can be, let's say, attributed to coronavirus. Because of coronavirus, you're seeing more and more consoles getting sold while people are stuck at home. You're seeing more and more online purchases as well. But if just Microsoft is up 65%, John, in the gaming area, I'm just thinking the gaming industry as a whole has got to be up a ginormous amount. Because you think of all those EA sales on potential like sports titles or Star Wars titles. You look at Sony, obviously, Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2 is in this past quarter. You look at some of the other services out there and games out there like Take-Two with NBA 2K. Like there is so many games coming out between March and July area. And a lot of those now being purchased more and more due to coronavirus and people stuck at home due to these orders. That's ginormous. I mean, the growth, if Microsoft is at 65%, I think the games industry as a whole is probably close to 35, 45% overall.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're going to see these numbers continue to grow across the entire gaming universe. For that reason, exactly like you said, Joey, coronavirus. It's definitely a major game changer. And we've seen just the traffic in video games increased since that March timeframe when really at least North America started going on lockdown. So, it's not surprising, but 65% is a massive, massive increase. But that's something Microsoft has earned with Xbox and their reputation and with Game Pass. I mean, Game Pass definitely a huge driving factor. I mean, when you can pay a small fee for an entire library of major titled games, I think that's incredibly smart. I think anybody, especially in lockdown, if your hours may be cut back or anything, $4.99 is something you can easily justify to play games. $4.99 for entertainment, that's less than what you pay for Netflix. It's less than what you pay for Hulu and everything else. So I think that's a huge driving factor. And I agree with you, Joey. I think we're going to see numbers like this come out across the board. Maybe not as high as 65%, but I'm expecting pretty decent increases across the board in video games.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be 45% if I had to guess, somewhere around there, reason wide. Because, I mean, if you look at Xbox Game Pass, I feel like that's a good percentage of this growth. But on top of that, console sales, you're only going to get console sales from Microsoft and Sony overall, and Nintendo as well, I guess. But there's really no Switches anywhere, it feels like right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that part. But yeah, overall, I think the whole industry will be up. So we'll have to see as some more of these earning calls come in. But overall, I think it's a big, big win for gaming. With that, John, let's head into one of our biggest topics on today's show, and that is the Xbox Game Showcase. We finally see what Microsoft has to develop, what they have to offer to fans as well. I mean, Sony over here came out in June, and they had a very good show. A lot of people rated it around an A-, B+ range. A lot of good games shown, but a lot of those games were only launch exclusives and will be coming to other platforms as well. That was some things that brought down the grade. They didn't show a ton of gameplay either, so that also got criticized. And Xbox didn't really do too much better in that area either. But they did kick things off with one of the biggest titles expected at launch, and that is Halo Infinite. John, we got a new trailer for Halo Infinite, as well as some first look at gameplay. What are your overall thoughts on your first look at Halo Infinite?
I'm going to be honest. My first response was, I mean, it looks like Halo. It looks like all the old school Halo in the terms of like there wasn't anything that blew me away. Obviously, the graphics are better versus the Xbox and Xbox 360. The graphics have definitely improved. But overall, I mean, it didn't blow me away. It definitely wasn't underwhelming. I thought it was a decent show. I would like to have seen a little bit more. But overall, I feel like it was okay. I mean, it's not making me hate the fact the game's coming out. It's not making me think that it is going to disenfranchise the entire Halo series because it was... I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've seen mixed reactions also on social media. I've seen a lot of positive. I've seen a lot of meh. I guess I fall into that meh category where I'm like, okay, it looks cool. I'm not blown away, but I'm also not at that point where I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to play this at all. So I think they did a decent job. I feel like it could have been a little bit better. But overall, the gameplay I thought looked pretty good. Here we go.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I feel like similar to you, I've seen responses all across the board. There are people like ready to sell their firstborn child for this game. There's people that are ready to say, I am never touching a Halo game ever again. It just feels like all over the place. And it's very interesting to see it all play out. I think gameplay in particular is one area that got a lot of people. A few different things. The grappling hook. People who are more for the classic Halo do not like the idea of the grappling hook. They don't want to see this new mechanic involved. They just want pure Halo. And this kind of goes in the same place, but no sprint as well. Some of those classic Halo players do not like the idea of sprint in games. They just want pure Halo, slightly faster base movement speed than many other FPS style games, but no sprint, no grappling hook, none of this crazy movement. I would say it's not bad. I'm kind of the part where I could do sprint, I could not do sprint. I'm not really going to argue life or death over that. The grappling hook concerns me if it's in multiplayer. I like the idea of it for an open world style Halo for single player. But John, can you imagine if they throw the grappling hook into multiplayer, particularly based on map size? Like if it's smaller size maps and the stupid grappling hook is in there, and now John's over here like harpooning people with his grappling hook, that seems a little ridiculous to me, and it kind of breaks down the competitive integrity of the multiplayer scene.
It honestly sounds kind of fun harpooning people, but no, I agree with you. I do feel like that mechanic would be a little ridiculous. Now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a game mode where it would be allowed. Like, I think if there's a game mode, kind of like what you see in Griffball, Griffball obviously is a particular game mode with rules and boundaries that it makes it into a different version of a PvP. But if you're looking at, King of the Hill, you're looking at team deathmatch, you're looking at anything like that, you have to keep it as level as possible, and that mechanic would definitely feel broken in multiplayer.
Absolutely. So what are your thoughts on the graphics as well? So the graphics, some people have absolutely loved them, like the water graphics and the grass graphics. Other people have really panned the shadows and lighting, as well as the facial expressions on our good old friend Brute Craig over there, as he's become known by the Halo community. So I think graphic-wise, I wouldn't say it was terrible in my opinion. I think there's definitely work to be done, but supposedly the demo that was shown was a couple months old. It was prepared back in March, February range for a June showing originally. So if that is true, if that is the case, they've had a couple more months to work on graphics since then. If you look at the gameplay trailer based on what we saw I guess it's like a trailer based on gameplay versus what the actual gameplay was shown at the show. There are already differences based on the gun and based on some of the lighting and the way it's architectured together. So I think improvements have been made. They also have 3 or 4 months again before it comes out and release. So personally, I'm not nervous. I think graphic-wise, it might not be the greatest new invention out there. I think certain games on this generation could look better than what we'll see in Halo Infinite, partly because it has to be on Xbox One as well as Xbox Series X. But as far as PC gaming goes, I think it's going to look absolutely gorgeous.
I'm going to hold my opinion on the graphics. I'm right there with you. I wasn't really blown away. But obviously, it's not the final version of the game. Things can definitely change, and I do expect the graphics to change. I'm going to be blunt. If you are paying attention to the water and grass graphics in Halo, you are missing the point of playing the game. I am not going to be sitting there and be like, oh, look at the pretty blades of grass all over the pond is actually having ripples that come up to the... I don't care. I'm killing aliens. Look, don't get me wrong. Like, for a cutscene, for like an overhead shot coming in down upon Master Chief, cool, awesome, great. I'm going to pay attention to the graphics. But at the end of the day, I am killing me some aliens. And if the aliens look cool before and after I kill them, I'm cool with that. But I'm not paying attention to the grass or the water while I am playing the game to kill my enemy. I get it. People want to find positives. And if your positive is in a blade of grass or a ripple of water, so be it. So be it. But in the middle of combat, if that's what catches your eye, good luck.
Yeah, it's not quite legendary for that one, is it?
No.
Yeah, I mean, overall, and even when they look at the critique as far as like the critters and the aliens and everything going around, I feel like the detail that was shown is only really displayed in screenshots. Like when you look at the actual gameplay, they go by so fast on the screen that you would not even notice these little details that people are picking out. It's mainly because of the screenshot. Like the screenshot with these frozen expressions, I think gives people a lot more ammunition in that area than what we can see in a fluid moving game where people are moving, where interactions are happening. So overall, yeah, I think the graphics will be fine come launch. One other thing on Halo that I do want to touch on though, before we move on, John, what are your thoughts of Halo moving to this more open world, potentially RPG style, as opposed to the linear style that it was before in previous games?
I like the open world element. It gives the player more freedom to choose their path and allows them to make mistakes. When it's a linear path, it's literally the player cannot make mistakes. The decisions are pretty much there for them. The storyline is written for them. They may have a decision on which path they go, but at the end of the day, it's always point A to point B. Regardless of how you choose to get there, there's always point A to point B. In some games, there may be different versions of endings, but nonetheless, it's always point A to point B. When it's an open world, you can kind of choose your path. Like, if maybe you want to go to a different planet, maybe you want to, go to a different part of the storyline. Maybe you've discovered it's easier to go to A, B, D versus A, B, C checkpoints and then come back to C because D gives you a special weapon or something. When you allow players to make those kind of decisions, they immerse themselves into the game a little bit more. So free it up a little bit. Take those boundaries away. Don't make it such a linear game. I don't think it's a bad thing to be linear either, but when you open it up, you have the possibility of immersing that gamer a lot more into that game, thus causing them to spend more time in your game and have that bond and relationship with that game that a lot of original Halo players back in the Xbox days got Granted, it was still linear then, but they were able to immerse themselves into that universe. When you open it up, you can do it even more. I mean, take a look at Star Wars, take a look at World of Warcraft, these open world possibilities that people can just literally live a digital life in these games. I think it's incredible. I think it's a smart move if they do go open world.
Yeah, I think one of the other points to touch on as far as the open world aspect potentially goes here is when you have a super linear game, I feel like people don't pay attention to the environment as much. Like, oh, yes, this is a cool little area that was designed really well as we run to go kill the next bad guy. In something like an open world game, in particular, like Halo here, there's the ability to really explore this Halo ring. Outside of just doing the linear mission to mission and just kind of going with the drag of it, you can say, hey, I want to go try this side mission, or I want to go climb up on top of this mountain and take a look around. And this is all assuming this is the way it's going to play out. But I think that just adds a fun element to it. Like maybe you can go, maybe there's an achievement, for example, go rescue the comrades that are pinned down on Mountain A or whatever it's called. So you could choose to go over there, get the achievement or try for the achievement, or maybe you just continue on with the main mission and you say, Spartan, it's much better to go do this because if we lose this point, then we'll have to go through this way. And I think there's cool ways they could add into the story as well. Like maybe because you choose going to point A instead of point C ends up adapting and changing. That would allow for more and more playthroughs as well. Obviously, Halo with the skull system allows for a lot of replayability too. But if you have different points and different objectives change slightly based on the choice that, or like the order of the choices you end up making, I think that could be a really cool element to bring in too. Now, as far as RPG goes, I don't know my thoughts on them adding different skills into Halo. Like your grappling hook is slightly faster if you unlock I don't really know if I like the idea of that. I feel like it does come down to player choice and it does allow for more flexibility, creativity, a different way of playing through it. But at the same point, I don't know how I feel about RPG elements within Halo.
I think if you're going to do that, you have to make it in-game content. You want to definitely focus on a uniform journey to the end. And then once you get to the end, you're looking for that in-game content. I mean, World of Warcraft, I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but they do it perfectly. At the end of the storyline is very open in how you do it. But when you get to that end, when you get to max level, you get to max level content. There's certain things you can only do once you get there. That extends the life of the game. That extends the playability of the game. I think in an RPG universe, that can help really attract players and keep them engaged in the game while we're waiting for maybe additional DLC to come along for Halo Infinite. I do like that idea, but only if it's in-game. And then when you go PvP, you still have to make it uniform. If you're going to make it so you're doing a team deathmatch, then it has to be uniform across the board. You can't have special abilities or so on and so forth. Or you open it up to team play where it's like a 5v5 team deathmatch and it's uniform teams. It's 5 friends logging in against 5 friends, and they have that ability to change their abilities, take what they want, what they don't want, and maybe try to build a comp that could go up against another team to win a King of the Hill or a team deathmatch. If you're looking at adding those kind of elements, I think that's the best way to do it. If not, if you allow that kind of freedom throughout the game, then I feel like it may hinder the overall experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes a good point. And if I'm the one who's looking at this as a Halo player perspective, I kind of want single player and multiplayer to be separate. Like maybe there's certain achievements that'll unlock cool helmets or cool armor pieces when it comes to multiplayer if I complete them in the campaign. But I really don't want the idea of the grappling hook over in multiplayer. I really don't want the idea of different RPG elements carrying over to multiplayer, especially if Halo is looking at becoming an esport like it supposedly is looking at taking its esports scene to a new level. I think it really needs to look at games like League of Legends, like Dota 2, like Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Look at the games that are doing really well in esports right now. And a lot of that comes down to no customization. Like a lot of it comes to these are the characters available, these are the play styles available. Then from there, there's a little bit of change up where you can buy items to kind of build your character slightly differently. I don't think that works in an FPS as well. Like maybe you could do a buy system like we see in CSGO. I really don't feel like that fits Halo either, though, to be completely honest. I think just pure multiplayer, 5 blue guys against 5 red guys. These are your base loadouts. These are the options you have. There's power weapons spawning across the map. Play for control of them. Keep it simple. Keep it fun. That's how you're going to grow the esports scene, in my opinion. With it going to PC, John, and this is just, we'll call it a prediction. I think Halo is going to come out with it launching in Game Pass on PC and on 2 generations of Xboxes. I think it's going to come out and blow out of the water any previous Xbox game sale records ever made. I think it's going to be the highest selling game by far for Xbox.
I could see that. I really could. I feel like you tap into the nostalgia that older gamers have. You tap into that hype that the newer generations that may not have been able to experience the original Halo hype when it came out. I feel like there is a huge possibility that Halo Infinite could definitely do that. Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? The hype is there. I mean, you saw the numbers from viewership from this showcase. You saw the amount of traffic on social media when it came to Halo Infinite. There's a lot of hype around this game, and rightfully so. There's a huge possibility, Joey, you would be 100% correct in that prediction.
And also, I'm not going to say it was a marketing tactic because I think it was a dumb decision. But the gameplay they showed and how it was a little bit lacking in graphically speaking for some players out there or some viewers out there, I think that could potentially play into their hand as well. Because now when you release more videos, maybe in August, maybe in September, a lot of those players that were not impressed originally, I think come back to review that new video. And if you can knock it out of the park in your next couple, I guess, gameplay sample videos or whatever they end up putting out prior to launch, I think this could really get bigger and bigger from even what it is today. Okay, John, a couple more games. We don't have to spend as much time on these ones as the big blockbuster title of Halo Infinite, but Everwild. I am so interested in Everwild. This is our second time seeing a trailer of it. This is the next IP coming from Rare. Rare, Banjo-Kazooie. You have Battletoads over there. Perfect Dark came from there.
Battletoads?
Recently. Dude, Battletoads has this random cult following. I don't know why, but that's one of those rare games that comes out of there. But people love Rare games overall. Perfect Dark, classic. I believe GoldenEye was done by Rare as well. James Bond, classic. You look at something like Banjo-Kazooie, arguably one of the best platformers of all time out there, classic. Rare has been known to make these amazing classic games. Even Sea of Thieves, it came out and it didn't have the greatest critical reception at first. It was one of those... it wasn't supposed to be a games for service or games by service or whatever, but it ended up becoming one. And now 2 years later, the game is adored. It just hit record numbers on Steam when it ended up being launched on there. It's doing incredibly well. There's just something about Rare that's very special. Everwild, to me, the way the flora and fauna looks, John, is just so fascinating. Like, I really want to dive into this game, but I have absolutely no idea what the gameplay looks like. This is one of the takeaways from the Xbox Game Showcase for me as well. I love that they're showing gorgeous games like this, but what do I do in this game? Like, what is the purpose of this game other than looking at the blades of grass?
Here we are again. Blades of grass, Joey.
I mean, what are your thoughts on this? So the only thing we know so far is that it is 1 to 4 player co-op. And that's all we know. And then it has really cool looking animals.
There is a lot of speculation around this. So obviously I'm excited. I'm a big Banjo-Kazooie fan. That game was like legit everything to me as a kid. And the spawn of nightmares too. That witch. Ooh. But yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued. They gave me enough to pique my interest and make me want to follow this game as more announcements come out. I've seen everything from, you know, like an MMORPG kind of thing, to a co-op linear kind of. I mean, I really don't know what to make. I mean, they're all rumors. They're all just speculation. I'm right there with you. I think the graphics have me intrigued. It definitely kind of has that cartoony Sea of Thieves kind of feel, but in this more just non-pirate kind of sense. I'm intrigued. And I mean, I really don't know. I mean, everything I'd be saying is pure speculation and guessing.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous. Like, I think the biggest takeaway for me is the art style. Like, it looks so unique. It kind of has a little bit of that Sea of Thieves. I mean, kind of a little bit of the Sea of Thieves art style, but overall, it feels even cleaner than that. I think the lighting is in particular very clean as far as the light versus dark. I feel like that's going to be a very big theme within the game as well. But overall, I think it's going to be different than Sea of Thieves. I do not think this is going to be an online multiplayer game outside of those 4 people that can play co-op. I think it's going to be more based on the land and trying to develop the land in some sense. I don't know if they take it the survival aspect, if they take it more of a discovery RPG aspect. But one thing that is for certain is this game looks absolutely gorgeous. So hopefully we learn a little bit more about Everwild as we move into August and October in those showcases. Another big game. This one is one of the highest anticipated games of all the next couple of years to come, and this is Avowed. This is Obsidian's next AAA RPG project. We really don't have much on this either. We got a trailer with a cool fiery arrow being shot. We ended up seeing a first-person's perspective with someone holding a sword as well as some kind of enchanting or spell casting. Supposedly, there are some rumors that have come out here and there. It is rumored to be considerably bigger than Skyrim. Skyrim being that very popular game that Bethesda wants to release on every single platform possible, including Amazon's Alexa, which I do not have in this room, thankfully. And it's going to be set in the Pillars of Eternity universe. Sorry, I had to double check that. But yeah, overall, I'm excited for this game. I'm not really someone that's gotten a ton into like Morrowind and Elder Scrolls based games. I've seen a lot of Skyrim gameplay. I actually did not play through it myself. But overall, I love the way Obsidian designs games. I think they've done absolutely great jobs with their RPGs of recent years. And I feel like they're really challenging Bethesda in a few different areas. If Avowed comes out and is as good as like a Morrowind Elder Scrolls type of game, and then you have on the other side, the Outer Worlds, which is doing really well in that kind of Fallout style universe, it almost feels like Microsoft bought up a little Bethesda here in Obsidian.
Yeah, I mean, it's another title that has my interest peaked. I'm right there with you. I wasn't a big Elder Scrolls fan. That game style I found interesting to watch for some reason. I remember I watched some of my friends play through the entire game. The story was fascinating. That's kind of the issue with these showcases is that they give you enough to pique your interest, but not enough to tell you exactly what's going on. That way it sticks in your head. They plant that seed for you. I'm excited for it. I want to know more about it. I'm curious. And the good news is it's on the Game Pass. And I'll be able to try it for that stupid fee of $4.99. I hate the fact that I'm like promoting this damn thing now. But yeah, it's I'm excited because I'll be able to try it without having to drop $60-$70.
John, it looks like we've upset chat a little bit. Apparently we have some Skyrim fans over there.
No, I mean, look,
rip.
I'm not saying Skyrim's bad at all. It comes down to personal preference. Skyrim just wasn't a game that had me drop every other game I was playing to say, oh, I have to play this game. Now, watching my friends play it, watching the storyline, watching them fight all those cool dragons and monsters and so on and so forth. Yeah, it was great. I thought it was fantastic. It's just not my cup of tea, if you will. Let's see. So that's Blake. Jen says, boo, we're canceling you. She literally has 200 mods. I don't know why she's complaining. Look, modding is a completely different style of gameplay. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's fine. Look, it's just like she probably doesn't play, World of Warcraft or FIFA or Rocket League. Everyone has their own cup of tea here. Don't be judging like that. It's a judgment-free zone on the LvLUp Podcast. Come on.
Well, it's like you said, John, you and I both enjoyed watching gameplay of it. We watched plenty of streamers play it, whether it be friends of ours or whether it be people online. Like, the gameplay is phenomenal. I think for me, the biggest thing that holds me back from a Skyrim type of game is the amount of hours that needs to be put into it. As someone who plays primarily multiplayer games, whether it be League of Legends, VALORANT, those take enough time already. And to then go and sink whatever it is, 60, 70 hours into something like a Morrowind Elder Scrolls, like a Skyrim type of game, that's just a big, big time commitment just to go back to. And it was the same thing with Fallout. I mean, Fallout was a longer game as well. I think this game is going to absolutely kill it in the market. I think a ton of people love Skyrim. And now coming out with Avowed for Obsidian, I think Obsidian does a very good job with these AAA RPGs. And I think Avowed is just going to be another one that really comes out and sets itself up as a really cool series moving forward in that Pillars of Eternity universe. Then Microsoft gave us that one last thing, John, before they closed out the show. Everyone was wondering what it was going to be. Was it going to be a studio acquisition? Was it going to be the first look at Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty coming out in potentially October, November range. We had no idea, but what it ended up being was a game that a lot of people wanted at this showcase, and that was Fable, John. The legendary story from Lionhead Studios originally coming out. Fable, the ability to really choose your own adventure with that fun British humor to it. Now it is coming back. A new development studio under Playground Games. For those of you who don't know, Playground Games is one of the studios behind Forza, which has arguably been the top racing game for like 7 years now. So because they've done so well in the racing genre, they said, hey, Phil, give us some money. We want to continue to expand into new genres. They ended up, I think it was like tripling their studio size. I want to say it's over 300 employees or something now. So it is a ginormous studio. A lot of those still working on Forza, but a very hefty number working on Fable as well now. I think if they do this right, and at least from the trailer, it looks like they're keeping the British humor in. I think this could be one of the biggest games ever to release on an Xbox console and potentially PC as well, because it is coming to PC, but PC does have a ton of games out there. I love the Fable IP. I think it's one of the coolest IPs out there. I think it fell off. I'm going to say Fable 3. I think Fable 1 and 2 are very strong. Fable 3 not as strong in my opinion. Now coming with Playground, getting that fresh look, still from a British studio. I think there's a lot of potential here with Fable.
I'm hyped. I'm all in. Fable is a great game. Like you said, Joey, it's a great IP. Like a lot of IPs that have been around for a while, let's not forget, the original Fable came out in 2004. 2004, that was 16 years ago. And it was probably in development for years prior to that. So, I mean, this game has a very big cult following, especially in the millennial generation. There's a lot of hype around this, and I'm all in. I am all in. I thought the trailer was great. The surprise was great. I was at work watching this, and I literally yelled in my office, "Fable!" It was great. It was absolutely fantastic. My boss yelled at me, but 100% worth it. I'm psyched for it. I want to know more about it. I want to see more. I want to hear more. I am all in on Fable making a return. I am super, super psyched for this game to come back.
And then for the sake of time, John, we're not going to touch on every single game in the showcase. There were like 20 to 30 more in there. But is there any other games that caught your eye in particular that you want to touch on before we move on topic?
It's like you know me so well, Joey. Tell me why, easily. I am a sucker for these kinds of games. I absolutely love the Life is Strange series. I love, I'm blanking on it now. So the original Life is Strange Before the Storm, Life is Strange 2. The stories they immerse you so much, and I absolutely love it. And the fact that it's Dontnod doing this, right? It's not Square Enix. Yeah, Dontnod is making another. I don't believe it has any connections to the Life is Strange universe, but it's that same kind of storytelling. It's that same kind of gameplay where it emotionally attaches you to characters, and you have to make those tough decisions. I'm all in. I love streaming these kind of games. I love getting chat involved. I love being able to show how I'm conflicted between choosing two different paths. These kind of games, I think, are severely underrated. And I was completely, I'm not going to say shocked, but like I was completely like super hyped when I saw Tell Me Why's trailer come on. And I can't wait for it. I've already have it pre-downloaded. It comes out in August. And you bet I'll be streaming it here on OTN Media. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic for episode 1. I'm super hyped.
Yeah, and for those of you who have not played Life is Strange, think of like Telltale Games. It's one of those games where there's a lot of like text-based choices. You're exploring, you're doing your thing, but then a lot of conversations will come up where depending on the way you drive the conversation, it can potentially change the story as well. So it's very replayable. I'm trying to think, John, how many times do you play through Life is Strange? On stream, it had to be like 3 or so, at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, and the original Life is Strange, that last chapter never gets any easier. Yeah, I think I've played through it about... So the whole idea is to try to get all the endings and all the achievements also. But the problem is like each chapter takes you like 3 to 4 to 5 hours. So it definitely takes your time. I mean, that's something good. You don't want to be done with the game in 2 hours. Yeah, I think I played through the original Life is Strange about 6 or 7 times. Life is Strange Before the Storm, only 2 times. Because then Captain Spirit, or was it Captain Adventure? I can't remember.
I think it's Spirit.
I think it was Spirit, came out. And little did we know that was teasing Life is Strange 2 with 2 random characters that showed up at the end. And then Life is Strange 2, the ending to I have never been more so Life is Strange 1 had me like emotionally, like that had me like upset and sad. Life is Strange 2 had me so pissed off. I was so angry at the end of the game, not because the game was bad. The game was brilliant. It was absolutely amazing. These games have the ability to take current events, real life things, and put that video game twist on it. Obviously, not everyone has a superpower. I mean, Joey's not cake, so his superpower is not being a walking, talking cake. My ability to lift up cars with a single finger, I don't like gloating about that, but it's there. Not everyone has a superpower or a quirk, so that's completely fine. Joey, did you catch that reference? So yeah, I think it's kind of cool. It touches on those tough subjects in real life through a video game to kind of help educate or enlighten people, maybe not to persuade them one way or the other, but to just give them a little more information, maybe find a way to put yourselves in that person's shoes to see it from their perspective. So I love these kind of games.
Absolutely. And I think one thing Don't Nod does really well is just how drastically the choices can change the game. Like, you're going to get from point A to point B, but point B can end up being very different depending on some of those choices you make. Like, at least in the original Life is Strange, those endings were like night and day difference. Like, the impact of those decisions is hugely shown throughout that series. And I think you'll have something very similar here with Tell Me Why. Last bit for the Xbox Game Showcase, John. The biggest takeaway, in my humble opinion, is the fact that all of the games will be on Xbox Game Pass. So not only as an Xbox gamer do you have the ability to play a lot of these games, some of them stuck out more than others to certain people here and there, but overall the fact is an Xbox Game subscriber for that $4.99 a month on PC, for $10.99 I believe on console, or as Ultimate at $15 or $14.99, whatever it is, you have the ability to play all these games coming out over the next couple of years, plus all the games they end up adding from other third-party developers. So a lot of value coming out of Xbox Game Pass. And if you ask me the biggest release from the showcase, I honestly think it's Xbox Game Pass. Like, a lot of these games looked great overall to me, but if the biggest winner is anything, I think it's just the fact that the Game Pass subscription just adds that much more value.
Look, I give Joey a lot of crap on this show. I give Joey a lot of crap on Discord. I give Joey a lot of crap in real life, especially when it comes to Xbox and his Microsoft fanboyness.
I'm a shill, remember?
You are a shill. According to Grant last episode, you are 100% an Xbox shill. But there is something to be said for a monthly subscription of $4.99. That is $4.99. Access to all of these games. These are games that could easily be as low as $30. If you take a look at Tell Me Why, $30 per episode, maybe $20 per episode. I can't remember the original pricing for Life is Strange when that originally came out, but it was roughly around there, versus $60 for a full title game, or what's now being speculated closer to $70 or $80 to this next upcoming generation per game. Per game. If there are 2 or 3 games that piqued your interest in this showcase, you are talking over $200 for those 2 or 3 games. Or for $4.99, you get all of them, as long as your subscription is active. And if you stop your subscription, okay, cool, you're not playing the games, but you want to know something? You can pick it right back up 8 months later, and the games are still there. It's insane. It is, yes, Joey, I'm the best deal in games right now, and I feel like a Xbox shill myself saying that, but it really is. I mean, take a look at Netflix. Netflix revolutionized how people watch television. Now you have Hulu. Now you have Amazon Prime. Now you have all these other digital streaming services to bring you content. The Game Pass is that streamline. $5. Hundreds of games, AAA titles. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. That's the biggest takeaway. That's the biggest winner. And if you think we're wrong, take a look at Joey's tweets at Courtside King. Even Golden Boy agrees with them. That's all I'm going to say. And Golden Boy's pretty awesome. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about that one.
Yeah,
getting the old
that
Golden
was
Boy
pretty sweet.
response.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think the other thing that to really take away here as far as Game Pass in general, so people like Greg Miller, who is a huge PlayStation fanboy, he runs like what, 2, 3 PlayStation podcasts. Gary Whitta as well has been a big outspoken person. Alana Pierce, a huge gamer as far as Xbox, PlayStation. She kind of does it all over there with the Rooster Teeth and Funhouse families. They have all been very outspoken for Game Pass and what it's worth. Alana did an amazing video recently. Definitely recommend checking that out. I think it was like 7, 8 minutes only, but she just kind of goes like, if you're a PlayStation fanboy, if you're a Nintendo fanboy, regardless of who you want to support within the games industry, you need to argue for more things like Game Pass. It is just the best value in gaming out there. And I want to say it was Greg Miller, but someone came out and said the best value in entertainment in general right now. If you look at subscriptions, like you said, John, Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, whatever you look at, nothing has the same amount of value currently as what Game Pass brings. So again, I think it's just a huge win for gamers overall. Obviously, Xbox players definitely benefiting from it, but PlayStation definitely has their perks as well. They have some amazing IPs coming down the pipeline. We saw some of those in June, and we're about to see more in August as well. Last but not least for this showcase, John, it estimated that more than 2.5 million users tuned in to watch the showcase live between Twitch and YouTube. So again, lots and lots of viewers coming in for a lot of these showcases. EA, Ubisoft, Sony all pulled in crazy numbers as well. I believe Xbox and Sony have both been the biggest by far at the moment, but still very, very big numbers in general coming in so far for these showcases. Moving forward, so what kind of gaming events can we expect for the next couple months? John, Sony's next event, and this is not 100% official, but they will be having a state of play in August. It sounds like it'll be the first half of August based on some sources that I've talked to. Most likely in the second week of August is when we should see a date for that come up. I'm aware of at least 3 of their unannounced first-party games. I added another one this morning. So I think we're going to see a couple in August. I don't know if they'll show all of their hand in August, but I think we'll see at least 2, maybe all 3 of these games being developed. I think 2 is a safe bet. And again, these are just the unannounced titles that I know of coming from Sony's first-party studios. There very well could be a couple more in there that they have hidden. I don't want to mention them on the show because I don't really want to do any spoilers or cut some surprises, but there will definitely be probably a title that people will expect, and then another one that'll probably very much surprise people coming out from the Sony camp.
Joey just can't say because it's under NDAs is what it really comes down to.
No, I'm not. There's no NDA here. I mean, I did it in Discord before, like for the Sony June show. I was like, there's going to be 2 surprises. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I'll tell you when they pop up. So I told people when they both popped up there. I think there's something fun, like Xbox, for example, with Fable at the end. If people knew Fable was coming, I think it kind of takes away a little bit of the excitement there. Like there were rumors about it, but the fact that a trailer pops up right at the end of the show, I think really brought some life to it. And I feel like kind of giving these little spoilers ahead of time will cut back on that a bit. So I'll tell you next week which 2 games I knew about, or possibly 3 if they show all 3, but I don't think they will. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. That should be about the second week of August. And then Xbox is set to answer that supposedly in the second half of August as well. Their show is going to focus mainly on hardware and services. So we'll see potentially another Xbox console or 2 being shown there, as well as some of those services like the Xbox Live Gold 1-year membership no longer being available to purchase. Are they getting rid of Xbox Live Gold? That's a big question going out right now. Game Pass. Is it going to develop? We know Project xCloud will be added to it in September at no additional cost. What else will they be offering? Is there new Xbox dashboard or PlayStation dashboard coming out? Are there going to be new store updates, which supposedly they're redoing the Microsoft store? God bless, please, on PC. Definitely need some work over there. But overall, I think it should be exciting. I think there's a lot of good things to expect from both Sony and Xbox coming in August. I believe EA or Ubisoft will have another show as well. I want to say September for both those 2. Okay, I think that's enough Xbox and PlayStation, John. Let's take a little break and move on over to another game that's really close and dear to our hearts, Rocket League. Rocket League is going free to play. So they originally demoed this over in China. It did extremely well. I believe it was Tencent that published it over there in partnership with Psyonix. Again, Rocket League picking up players here and there in Asia is a huge win for the scene in general, as we really haven't seen too many of these style games kind of break off in the Asian area. So now that Asia did really well with this free-to-play test, Rocket League, Epic, Psyonix have come out and said, hey, we're looking at expanding this. We're going to make it free-to-play across the board, which I think is a huge win for a lot of games right now in today's day and age. Rocket Arena that EA just launched at $40 is now at a discount of $5 just a couple weeks after launch. I think that's just another premise of what this free-to-play model can do. Rocket League, so how are you going to really benefit your veterans? You've had these people who've been around. They paid whatever it was, $15, $20 at launch. or maybe they got it on a sale, whatever. But some of the players out there, and we have this in the OTN Discord as well, players are like, well, how are we going to be benefited? What do we get for being around for the long haul and actually paying the price? So, John, what does that look like? It's going to be all Rocket League branded DLC released before is now free to play to those players. On top of that, you'll have Fiasco established 20, whatever date you bought the title, as a new title available for you in the first year that you played Rocket League. 200 plus common items are now upgraded to legacy quality. Golden Cosmos boost. So think like spacey looking boost with stars and stardust or whatever. It's golden, nice and fancy. And then we have the DC Aura wheels as well as the Huntress player banner. To me, John, this is not the biggest haul. I think it's good. It's fun. It's a nice way to recognize veteran players. But I think my biggest argument would be you played the game for 4 years. You've had access to this game for 4 years more than people for what, 10, 15 bucks? To me, that is more than enough to pay 10 to 15 bucks to have 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years of gaming content and play available. But yeah, some players are not too happy with the ability or what's being given to them as veteran status.
If you're going to be upset about anything, be upset at what happened to Rocket League when Epic Games took over. And that is moving away from the crate and key system. Because, look, yes, I get it. Loot boxes are gambling. It's fine. I understand that. But when you're paying 99 cents for a key, or you are earning a key through the Rocket Pass, you're not breaking the bank, is what I'm trying to say. Now, when you take a look at the team, when you take a look at the garage, the team shop, if you will, the item shop, if you want to get a cool goal explosion, you're dropping $20 to get it because that you have to get in-game currency. Now, yeah, you can earn a little in-game currency here and there through the Rocket Pass, but not $20 worth of in-game currency. That's the downside, is they're going to go to those microtransactions. They're going to go to that Fortnite model that has brought Epic Games billions and billions of dollars. And it makes sense. As a gamer, I'm not happy about that. The fact that this game is going free to play and I paid full price for this game doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. This list of freebies, if you will, I could really care less. I could really honestly care less. If you really wanted to not alienate the people who bought the game, who paid money, give us that in-game currency. Give us X amount of coins. I think that would be a legitimate thing. You're going to have all these people coming into the game for free, which is fine. I love it. The Rocket League community is going to grow. But if you really actually want to do that, why not give X amount of coins to people who have already bought the game? If you paid $20 for the game, why not get $20 worth of in-game currency for it? And you want to know something? I really don't think it's going to hurt the bottom line if they do that. Because that's what? One epic item, maybe a couple rares, maybe a couple, definitely a handful of commons that you can get from the team store that rotates and is time-based. So they institute that FOMO in there too. So why not? Why not give players who paid actual money in-game currency to get some of those items? I think that would have been the best way to do it. These are cool. It doesn't really do it for me. Again, I'm not mad. I'm just not overwhelmed by, the package of saying, hey, thanks for being there for all these years. This is what we're going to give you to stand out from the rest of the crowd when it goes free to play.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like I said, the fact that you were able to play it for that many years, I think is a huge win in general for Rocket League veterans, whether they see that or not. I'm surprised you like the old system, John. I hate the new system, but I hated the old system as well. Okay, I have 10 crates that I've unlocked through playing this game, and now I have to spend $10 to open these freaking crates that I've already earned? Like, what? I just no, thank you. And then on top of that, it's like random. So I open this crate, I spend my $1 or $1.99, whatever the heck a key was, and then I'm opening this crate and I end up getting like a common skin. Like, hello, game? No, thank you. It's one of those things that I think is dumb. I do not like that system. I do not like the new system. I'm going to argue for it and no one's going to have any idea what it is, but the new Gears of War system they just implemented, I think is phenomenal. You can pretty much buy anything you want, any skin except for like some high rated earnable skins. But on top of that, you can buy them either in-game, like a League of Legends, where you see a new skin, you can just purchase it, pull out the credit card, do it right then, or you can earn it through playing. So if you put in your 10 hours or whatever of playtime, you earn these coins, or through doing objectives, you earn these coins. So if Jon wants 13 new luck skins, he can potentially earn some of them by playing League of Legends games, or in this case, Gears of War, grind out those tokens and do it in game. And that allows you to populate the matchmaking system because players are playing to grind out this coin to end up getting their cosmetics. Or he can just buy it outright. Like maybe that cool Dark Empress luck skin looks amazing and he just wants it day one. So he just swipes the credit card. There it is. That to me is almost the ideal system for games. League of Legends kills it as well. Obviously not the ability to really earn at least skins in game. You can earn characters through in-game currency, but they do incredibly well. I mean, what did they make, Jon? $1 billion last year or something like that? So obviously showing players what they want and allowing them to just get it is the way to go. Whether you allow in-game currency as an option, I think is a win for a lot of people who might not necessarily be able to afford or just swipe their credit card on a lot of different skins they might want overall, especially with COVID going around and jobs being lost here and there. But overall, I think giving players a choice, whether they earn it in game, whether they buy it, I think are both wins. Giving me a freaking loot crate, causing me to buy a key to open that loot crate that I already earned, and then a random chance of getting something that I might actually like out of it. No, thank you, senor. Not a fan of that system. Not a fan of the new system. I still want change in this area.
I feel personally attacked in your example there. Like you always have to bring up Lux. You always have to bring up the fact that I own every single Lux skin. Like it's hurtful, Joey. It's hurtful. Like it feels like you're like making fun of me or something because Lux is awesome. You know, it's just weird. I mean, yeah, she needs an 18th skin. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see how everything plays out. But overall, I'm not like super impressed by the veteran bonuses here, but overall, I don't think they're bad either. Now, one thing I'm very curious to get your thoughts on, Jon. So G4 TV for those boomers out there, or semi-boomers, let's call them, used to be a gaming semi-boomers. T-Spans, where you at?
Boomers in the making.
So in general, G4 TV, kind of like your gaming television show of like, what was that, Jon? A decade ago, it feels like. So it came out. It tried to be this hype show around gaming, bring some fun gaming shows. Like, this is the latest news in gaming. This is the way to unlock those cool Xbox achievements. This is a fun way to approach these esport events, which really wasn't a thing back then. So it was mostly gaming related. But overall, it was a way to engage as gamers with some kind of television channel on cable. It's returning, and this is coming right after the Ven announcement, I think, that we talked about a week or two ago, where they're coming out. They're going to be a broadcast TV channel. They're also going to have content on YouTube and Twitch as ways for gamers to interact with maybe the coolest hosts or whatever that they see on some of these esports shows, maybe some popular streamers as well built into their catalog. And some of the shows look pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I think they have some potential over there. But now G4 TV coming back as well. This to me is interesting because now you have competition right out of the gate. Potentially. I mean, G4 obviously got canceled at one point. I think they were ahead of their time in that sense. I think now with esports and gaming in general being so much more prominent, I mean, look at Microsoft, 65% gain in revenue this past quarter. Like, they are killing it with gaming right now. Obviously, COVID-19 is somewhat to blame for that, or somewhat to thank and attribute, I guess, depending who you are and what pockets are being lined. But overall, I think this is a good time for these to come back. And I don't think it's a terrible idea to have competition out there right out of the gate either.
And so here's the thing. The original G4 is backed by NBC Universal. NBC and Comcast now merged. They have been so involved in esports. If they are the ones backing G4 again, which I think they are, I have to double check on that, but I feel like they're even in a better place. Definitely G4 TV was ahead of its time. I mean, it was different. G4 TV really came out in the era where esport competitions were still being held in like a Holiday Inn ballroom. Like, they weren't in like 10, 20, 30, 40,000 seat arenas. They were in like 300 person ballrooms or a convention center's side convention hall for like small events. So I feel like G4 TV coming out again, pushing Ven. Competition's always great in this case. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, here we go. This is going to date me. MTV versus Fuse. MTV used to play music videos from what I heard. I'm not that old. Never really saw it on MTV. It was like, aside from TRL, that's the only time you ever saw music videos on there. Other than that, it was like these stupid reality shows. Then you had Fuse TV come along, and they play like your alternative rock, your emo rock, if you will. And they played music videos, and it was a lot of hype. Then Fuse went away from playing music videos also. But that's essentially what caused that competition, was two competing TV stations. That's what we're going to have here. We're going to have content that hopefully stays with video games and video game competitions, and they don't go the route of music video television, and how horrific that's gone downhill. But I'm excited for it. I think G4 coming back could be absolutely fantastic. I'm excited to see what they're going to do differently from Ven to make themselves stand out.
Yeah, I think the other piece to this puzzle here is I do not want G4 just to be a cable television channel. I mean, we talked about this a lot last week. I think one of the benefits of Ven is the fact they're doing it on Twitch and YouTube as well. If you're looking at the younger generations, you're looking at, I'm going to say, the heavy majority of people that watch esports and maybe participate in games as well at this point. A lot of that audience is available online. It's available on YouTube. It's available on Twitch. A lot of that generation has cut the cable cords or do not pay for cable. Maybe their parents pay for cable. Maybe they had cable growing up, but at this point, as young adults or as young children, they're not really looking at cable very often. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages that Ven has right now. And we don't know really the G4 plan at the moment. But if they come back, I think they have to have that streaming setup as well. Just being on cable, I don't think is enough to last in today's day and age. Next topic is Valorant, John. This one actually gives me a little bit of a minor aneurysm, I think. Valorant has decided to announce a new ranking system. And there are like triangles all over the freaking place. And we know how Panicking Pat feels about triangles.
Oh my God.
Okay, but this thing's crazy. Have you seen this? Like, what in the world is Valorant doing? Like, okay, I get it. I think their rank system is fine right now. Give us some visual LP. Give us some visual MMR. Okay, I'm gold 2 or whatever. What does it take me to get to gold 1? How do I do that? Do I need to win a few matches? Do I need to win a few matches by 7 or 8 rounds? Like, where am I at within my rank? Whether you're gold 2, whether you're immortal, it really makes no difference. Where are you within that rank? You don't really know, other than, okay, I got 2 arrows at the end of this match. I guess I moved up a little farther, or I didn't do so well, so I got 1 red arrow that's moving downward. Am I now gold 1? Am I slightly closer to gold 1? It's just, there's so many question marks. So people wanted that to be more clear. They wanted clarification in the area. What did they give us? A triangle filled with like 30 other triangles. What is Valorant doing, John? I do not understand this system. I think it's way overly complicated. Why not match League of Legends? You have the second most popular game in the world, the first most competitive, unless you're counting Minecraft as a competitive game. Why not just give us LP? Why not say a win is worth this many points? Maybe you get an extra 5 to 10 bonus, or maybe even 20 if you go ahead and frag out like Kiranthel. Like, I mean, it's one of those things that's like, why overcomplicate a rank system when you have one that works extremely well globally already? It drives me slightly crazy.
I just can't believe you brought up the triangles. That just caught me so off guard. I'm right there with you. I think it's stupid. I think it's overly complicated. I think Riot is going in the wrong direction with this. Keep it simple. Like, I mean, there's that saying in the business world, in the marketing world, it's KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. This is not simple. This is way too complicated. For my plastic 7 brain, that is way too complicated for me to actually care about. Literally want to try to obtain. I mean, what's the whole thing? You want to get the smallest amount of triangles in here, or are you just trying to get like the most different kind of multicolored triangles in here? It's all chapter or act based for your ranks. Stop it. Joey's having an aneurysm, and I just have a migraine. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I think it's stupid.
It's just obnoxious. Okay, and get this too. Your act rank badge, Sean. What does your act rank badge go off of? Your top 9 ranked wins.
Yikes.
Not top 10, not top 15. You're freaking top 9. Why? Like, I just don't understand. Like, this is a company that does extremely well in competitive games, yet this rank system is just all over the place, I feel like. Like, why can't we see a visual LP? Why can't we see what it takes us to move into the next rank? Why do we get rewarded with triangles that are now going to stack up over the course of a season? So John's once giant empty triangle can now be filled with 30 little triangles to show what rank he progressed over the course of the season. I just want to know where I ended up. Did I get my gold rewards at the end of the season? That's all I care about. Could I care if I have 30 bronze triangles and 42 silver triangles? Like, no, I could really care less. What am I grinding towards? What do I get at the end of the season? That's where I want to be. I could really care if there's an immortal triangle sitting in, which I will never touch. But overall, I don't get this. I'm not a big fan of this new system.
So, Joe, I don't know if you watch South Park, but if you don't, you should. There's an episode years ago. I believe they were making fun of The Simpsons. I honestly can't remember. It was a long time ago. But they essentially had this thing. It was this gigantic aquarium tank with idea balls. And they would literally have a dolphin go in, and whatever ball they kicked out is the idea they came up with. To give Riot that much credit in creating this new rank system would be too generous. It is that ridiculous. Is that South Park makes this look like a legitimate thing where like, oh, at least they're hopefully good ideas that were thrown in there. Riot literally reached in a back pocket of a complete stranger walking down the streets of LA and said, oh, I found an idea. And we have this horrific triangle ranked system that is going to trigger Panicking Pat for the rest of eternity because of all the triangles. And it's stupid. It's stupid. Riot, what are you doing? It's awful. Stop it. It's terrible.
Oh no, John, it gets worse. Chat just linked us a tweet. It looks like some of the abilities, I don't know if this is the next agent or the agent following after that, but Alarm Bot, Turret, Nanoswarm, and Lockdown. We're looking at a champion or hero or agent, whatever they're called in this game. Now they're adding in deployable turrets. This to me could be a giant mess for a game like Valorant.
Torbjorn, ready to work. Oh wait, wrong game, wrong studio, wrong everything.
I know, right?
Why? Why are you doing this? I don't understand, Riot. Yes, I know. I get it. You want to spice things up. You don't want to make it so linear. You want to make it unique, different, cool, awesome. You have abilities? Great, fine. We all love abilities. Who doesn't love abilities? This is ridiculous. I don't like turrets. Just go away. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits, at least with the turret aspect, it doesn't look like the turret does a ton of damage, which I think is about as win as you can get with deployable cover and deployable turrets in games. This one grenade thing, though, it's either the second or third ability here. It kind of looks like, I don't remember what that ice cream is called, like a cocoa bar or whatever, the little brown like one with the little bumps on it. Yeah, I don't remember the name of that thing. But overall, that thing looks like it is a ton of damage. Is going to hurt quite a bit. So we'll have to see what these abilities end up looking like once we have descriptions for them. But overall, I think, at least for it, like I'm trying to imagine CSGO, for example. If in CSGO you added some kind of, well, I guess there's no abilities in there, but just in general, like let's say instead of an incendiary grenade, you were able to buy a turret. That to me would come across quite broken in that game. Valorant leaves a little bit more wiggle room because there is the ability to buy these different abilities in game. You have invincibility with one character, in fact, for a little limited time. And you have a bunch of other abilities baked in as well. But deployable turrets, it's one of those things that I'm like kind of questioning. Like, I think the damage is going to have to be extremely low on it. It might even have to have a range. Like, you have to be within a certain range of the turret for it to activate, kind of like Heimerdinger in League of Legends. Other than that, I feel like this ability can be broken. Because if I end up throwing my turret down on, let's say, B bomb site, and then I move over to A, now you still get that information from A or from B, depending where you are, because you have one character at one end and a turret at another end. So I think there has to be some kind of proximity control into this as well. Okay, I think that's enough Valorant for now because I'm a little tilted between this turret and this ranked system and whatever else is going on. But we still have a battle pass to grind. And that brings us to our reminders, John. That battle pass for Episode 1, Act 1, which is confusing enough as well, that's coming to a close on August 4th. So if you have time before that patch happens, the patch I want to say is usually like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Eastern time for Valorant. You got to get that battle pass done before that time on August 4th. On top of that, a couple other reminders for Halo players out there of Master Chief Collection. You have until July 29th to unlock the, I believe it's pronounced Acrophobia skull. It'll allow you to kind of fly in game as one of the fun little skulls that they added in, as well as a Halo 3 nameplate. Again, that's July 29th that those expire. Ongoing for Sea of Thieves, we have these Spartan Ship cosmetic drops. To get these, you have to watch 30 minutes of a partnered Sea of Thieves streamer with drops enabled on their account. John, who have we been watching? Pat is in chat. I believe it's BBXH is one of the people. Alex has been fun to watch as well. One of the ones that we've jumped around and watched. So today's drop is a capstan for those of you on Twitch right now. Again, 30 minutes of watching one of those streamers. Then tomorrow is the flag for the Spartan set. The 29th is going to be the cannon skin. And then the 30th is going to be the figurehead, which kind of looks like Master Chief built into the ship. Really cool stuff there. I mean, John, you and I have tried to watch at least most of the days. I think we missed one or two here and there. But overall, some pretty cool cosmetics coming out with that Spartan theme.
Yeah, I've been watching Alex. He's very entertaining. He has some very unique catchphrases. His crew is very unique. Sometimes they'll break into like random radio bits. We're like, traffic and weather brought to you on the 7s. And it's so weird and random, but it's actually very entertaining.
What does he call it? Like the morning party boat or something?
Yeah, the morning party boat.
Yeah.
Is something absolutely ridiculous. And he's got this voice changer. He's like biggity big. Yeah. It's just absolutely insane. I love it. But yeah, it's actually entertaining to watch. I mean, there's different strategies. I mean, like I made fun of Pat. I don't know if he realizes this, for watching Sea of Thieves streamers. I think you've made a couple of jokes here and there too, Joey. It was actually kind of entertaining. Like there's different strategies, nothing that I would have ever thought of. Like, riding a wave up to the harpoon gun from the outside of the boat and then clicking onto the harpoon and all of a sudden you're on the boat. I think I would have never thought of that. And that's probably why I'm absolutely terrible at PvP. But yeah, I think it's really cool. And the fact that they are integrating one of the biggest titles, one of the biggest hype titles coming out in the Microsoft universe with Halo Infinite coming out into Sea of Thieves. I think it's smart. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And it's only for 30 minutes and it's a guaranteed drop. Joey, it's not like Valorant where you have to watch hours upon hours for days and days and weeks and hopefully you get a beta drop. No, Joey, we're talking a guaranteed drop after 30 minutes. What's better? What's better than that?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It kind of drives me crazy knowing now that Twitch has this ability to kind of time out these drops. Like maybe for Valorant, they wouldn't have done it because they really wanted to limit the beta, but they could have done something that says like drops will be every 30 minutes on the hour or whatever. Like it kind of drives me crazy that I sat there watching this stupid little bell every 20, 30 seconds. Like, did I get a drop? Did I get a drop? Like, yeah. So thank you, Twitch, for that now afterthought, knowing this is available.
It's like if you didn't have anxiety, the Valorant drops gave you anxiety. It was insane.
Right. Sea of Thieves, I throw it on at 1 p.m. or whatever. Just let it sit on a monitor over there. And then at 1:30, I know it's going to drop. I check the little bell. It says, hey, you're the lucky owner of a Spartan capstan or whatever. And I'm like, okay, sweet. Now that's unlocked. Good to go. But these streamers have been great. So I actually have stuck around for a little longer on some of these streamers. Like you said, Alex has done a great job. Pat, I know you're over in chat there. BBXH, I think is Dee's name over there. She's a great streamer as well for Sea of Thieves. Local as well for DC. So definitely check them out. Couple other things. Grounded, for those of you who are into survival games, that is releasing on Tuesday, July 28th. I will be launching on PC as well as Xbox and will be an Xbox Game Pass. You can pre-download that now if you're interested in that one. EA's recent release of Rocket Arena, kind of that 3v3 fun little battle royale, well, not battle royale, but like battler between 3 players on 2 different teams, is a fun little take on arena style gameplay. That is now, after launching at $40 or $39.99 a couple weeks ago, it has dropped to $4.99 on EA's Origin service for PC at least. I have not checked prices on Xbox or PlayStation, so I'm not sure if that's the case over there or on Steam. But at least for now, it looks like it is $5 on Origin. I think it's definitely worth checking out. We were texting about it a bit during EA's show, me and a couple other people on Discord. John was in there as well. I think one of the biggest concerns we had for Rocket Arena is that we thought it looked like a free-to-play game, something that we could buy into at a cheap amount, be able to play, really have fun and build up in the community. And then from there, maybe jump into the battle pass or buy in-game cosmetics. They decided to release it at $40 instead, though. We thought it was a huge missed opportunity for the game. It seems like EA has noticed it was a missed opportunity as well. Instead of taking that Amazon route and saying, hey, we're going to pull out this fully released game back into beta, they have decided to keep it released. But from there, they are moving it to this cheaper price point. I think that is a huge win as well for EA, and I expect Rocket Arena to pull in some people with that move.
It's a huge win only if you didn't buy it for $40 when the dang thing launched.
Yeah, that sucks. So Rocket League is giving these nice little trails away. What is EA giving to the people who paid $40?
Sadness. They're giving them sadness.
That is a lay rip. But yeah, more value out there for EA gamers as well as Game Pass gamers. John, with that, let's head over just shortly over to some updated esports news. We recently had the turn for the NBA 2K. $260,000 on the line for these NBA 2K teams. Raptors Uprising GC is your winner for this tournament, taking down our very own DC-located Wizards District Gaming. It was unfortunately a 2-0 for us WizDG fans going to Raptors in that one, but the Raptors take home the lion's share of that big prize pool.
A very close 2-0. I believe the widest gap was a 5-point difference between the two. Otherwise, WizDG looking to turn it around after first season, making the playoffs, bowing out in the first round. Second season, missing out on the playoffs. Now they're the third best team in the league going up against the number one best team in the league. I think this may be a matchup to remember going into the playoffs in a couple weeks for the 2K League.
Yeah, absolutely, John. I think this could have been our first look at a potential finals matchup as well. I mean, WizDG, you have young players on the team, JBM being the number one overall pick this year. He's continuing to grow his style out. Yes, he comes in with a ton of talent. Yes, his distribution of the ball is very strong, but overall, the team is still meshing together. Dave Fry really being that leader on the team. JBM doing a good job with the distributions and really playing out his team. Just Awkward, incredibly well playing on defense. I mean, WizDG is a very talented team, but on the other side as well, Raptors Uprising. Raptors have shown time and time again they are the best team in the league right now. Whether they end up the best team at the end of the season, I think is still a question mark that could be answered and potentially answered by WizDG in general. But for now, they go home with a very nice prize pool, and I think they're going to be pretty happy winning the turn. Over to Valorant, we had the PAX Arena Invitational. No deployable turrets in this one, but we did have a Sentinel winning out. It was Sentinels coming out on top in this one, running their group 4-0 before downing Gen G, TSM, arguably the best team in NA, and then Cloud9 in the finals, going 3-1 against them in the grand final. I think this is a big statement win for Sentinels. Not only statement wins along the way, but a statement win taking the whole tournament and being dominant throughout it. This comes after a big move from the Overwatch League from players like Sinatra. Sinatra coming over as arguably the best player in the Overwatch League, making the move to a scene that a game that the scene is really still developing on an esports level, saying, I'm going to commit my future to Valorant, at least for the near future. Getting brought in by Sentinels, who took a chance on him as a player, and now he's over here. His content creation has definitely taken a dip as far as Valorant compared to Overwatch, but overall, as far as competing in the game, they've had some rough tournaments here and there, but now a big statement win. It shows that roster is starting to mesh together. It shows the talent and the capability is there, and wins over TSM, Gen G, and C9 are definitely nothing to shake your head at. Anything else for a good old Sinatra over there on that Sentinels roster, John?
Nope.
Wow. Lots of excitement there, sir. Call of Duty, let's talk a little bit about this because they are heading into playoffs. We're not going to spend, again, a ton of time on this. It's still early on in the playoff rounds, but it looks like a number of teams did qualify. The elimination round, we have Optic Gaming going up against the Los Angeles Guerrillas, and then the Paris Legion up against the Seattle Surge. This is going to play out similar to a double elimination bracket. So whichever team moves on from here will end up playing one of the losers from the winner bracket round. To give you guys a look at the winners bracket round. So round one, we had the New York Subliners in the Minnesota Rocker, the London Royal Ravens, and the Toronto Ultra. If they end up winning, the potential teams they could see in the next round are the Chicago Huntsmen and the Florida Mutineers. If they continue winning on even further, it is the Atlanta FaZe and the Dallas Empire that they will come across. Again, double elimination throughout this tournament. So once we make our way through the winner final, the losers bracket final will have a chance at that championship. It doesn't look like there's actually a reset built into this bracket either, John. So it is a pure 1-1. Whichever winner makes it there and whoever survives through the losers bracket ends up in this championship. All chips on the line. Whoever wins it goes home as the champion.
Yeah, I would kind of hope there's a reset built into this. I think it would be kind of lacking if you could make a run through the elimination brackets and then make your way into the winners final and then beat, a team that is undefeated once and call it a day. If it's a true double elimination, then it needs to be a double elimination in the finals too. That's my own 2 cents. But other than that, I like the structure. Other than that one piece, I think it's going to be exciting. Atlanta FaZe, Dallas Empire, 2 teams that have really shown the reason why they are going to be considered the final boss there in round 3 of the winners bracket. Getting that 2-day bye, it makes sense. Chicago and Florida, I think those are 2 other great organizations in the Call of Duty League. Obviously not up there with the FaZe and Empire, but they do get a 1-round bye. So it does pay off to perform well throughout the regular season, and they get one less game that they have to worry about it. Now, you can make an argument saying now they're going to have to prepare for 2 teams or more. Well, they're going to have a day to plan. It's not all done on the same day. So it makes sense. I like it. I think it's a smart championship playoff circuit for CDL.
Okay, sir, you have to pick one team. If you had to choose that team right now, who are you saying is going to be the Call of Duty League inaugural season champions for this year?
It's way too early. This doesn't even start till the end of August.
I know. I want an early prediction, good sir. I'm not giving you no slack. We're not going to allow these teams to drop off to make your decision easier.
I can't root for anything from Atlanta. It just doesn't sit well with me. So I'm gonna go. I can't pick Florida because Florida is kind of a head case at the moment. You know what? Why not? I lived in Chicago for a year. I'm going to pick the Huntsmen. Why not? I think that'll be fun. We'll say Chicago.
Yeah, solid choice. I think Chicago's a great choice. I think Florida could be a really good choice. Toronto as well has potential. Personally, I'm going to go with Atlanta. Atlanta has been that team. John, I'm going to make the comparison to the Overwatch League. They remind me of the New York Excelsior from the inaugural season over there. They're a team that really shows up during the regular season. They've looked really good, but they always seem to fall in those final moments when it comes to like playoff format type of things. That's the biggest question mark for this team. To me, I think they're going to make it to the finals here, and I think they're actually going to overcome that little disadvantage they've had all year. I think they say, hey, we finally made it. Enough of losing in the finals. Let's get the job done. I think Atlanta FaZe takes it all here. So we will update those predictions as we go. But for now, jumping over to the Overwatch League, John, we have some exciting matchups on the slate. Give me one or two that you're looking forward to this upcoming week.
Oh, so we are doing Overwatch League?
Yeah, let's just do like a match that we're looking forward to. One or two.
You fooled me, sir. I even closed that tab. Let me pull it back.
I know.
up.
We're running a little over time here, but I figure why not? We'll slide it in this quickly.
Just a little overtime, a little bit. Let's take a gander here. None of them. They're all pretty predictable.
Play Jeopardy music.
Seriously. I mean, Shanghai versus New York, I feel like that has the potential to be decent. New York's been hit and miss, but Shanghai's been incredibly strong. I think the Philadelphia Fusion against the LA Valiant has the opportunity to provide some entertainment value as well. But other than that, I feel like most of these matchups are pretty predictable.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty chalky week as well. I think you highlighted a good one. Seoul Dynasty, Guangzhou Charge could be interesting too. Again, it feels like the Charge are playing on a different level right now, but Seoul, if you look at the roster, there's so much potential on that roster. I'm just waiting for it to click into place. This could be the match that happens. It could not be, but I think it's one to tune in for as well. Over to League of Legends, where we had some great action happening in both the LEC and LCS. John, I think a couple matches to highlight, at least for the LEC this past week, as there were quite a few exciting ones. I want to say there's more question marks that arose over anything, though. G2. G2 is a team that came out, and they lost to Schalke 04. They lost to the worst team in the league by far. G2, the team that was in World Finals last year, lost to the worst team in Europe. I think that's a huge question mark. And then they came back and beat the best team in Europe the next day in Rogue, arguably the best team. At least they were top of the standings. I don't know what to think about this G2 roster right now. Like, obviously, mechanically, they're extremely strong. They are full of very talented players. They are players that just signed on for another 3 years as a squad under the G2 umbrella. And then you go ahead and lose to the worst team in the league, but then you turn it around and beat the best team in the league. Not a clean win either. I would say it was a little bit inconsistent. They looked shaky here and there. Rogue really made mistakes that allowed them back into this game. But like, what is going on with G2, John? Do you think this team pulls it together in time to make a good run at Worlds?
They're going to have to, because if not, they're going to be a runner-up that failed to qualify. I don't know. I feel like G2 definitely has the most question marks for the exact reasons you point out there. You can't lose to the worst team and then beat the best team next day. Yes, at the end of the day, they're old pros. Yes, they're all there for a reason. Yes, they're all mechanically gifted. I get it. They're not bronze 7. They're not plastic 8. They're not trash tier. I get it. Every single one of them, even on the worst team, would absolutely whoop me in a 1v1 on the Rift. I get it. I 100% I do. But G2 has been sputtering. Kind of right there with Fnatic. It's which version of this team is going to show up. And it's just so weird that last week G2, this team that's been so consistent for the last several years, showed two different polar opposites of themselves, really, in losing to the worst team, but beating the best team. Joey, like you said, it wasn't the cleanest thing ever. It wasn't exactly, a clean win, but a win's a win. Like, they still knocked off a number 1 seed team. So yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the question marks are definitely there. They're going to want more stability. I don't know if this whole idea of switching caps and perks back and forth between mid and ADC every so often. I don't know if that really is going to play a factor. I feel like, I don't know. I kind of want to see some consistency. I don't want to see you switch it up. I get the strategic idea behind it, but some of these players play better in specific roles for a reason. Yeah, it's weird. G2's gonna have to figure it out real quick. Otherwise, they're on the outside looking in.
And just to put it into perspective a little bit for people out there who might not follow the LEC as much, G2, again, a team that went to the World's Finals last year. They ended up losing to a Chinese team that did extremely well in Fun Plus Phoenix, but G2 is there on the world stage over all of this competition, extremely hyped from both the West and the East. They made it all the way there. Now, over in Europe, and John, this is even crazier, they are currently out of playoffs. They are not making playoffs if the split ends today. There's a potential that it could go down to a tiebreaker, depending what the new LEC rules are for tiebreakers. But it could come down to a tiebreaker for them to even make playoffs. So they have points that carry over from spring because LEC still has those spring points that do add up into your world's total. But overall, this is a huge deal for G2. Again, I think we're 1 week over half, if I remember correctly. So there's still plenty of time to turn this around. They're not going to get a top seed at this point, but they have potential to at least secure their spot into playoffs. But if you're G2, you're looking real shaky right now. I think they do it. I think they pull it off with all the talent on that roster, but it is not a good look at the moment. Over to our own shores here in North America, LCS also had some great competition. Unfortunately for your boys, they took another loss. Cloud9 looking like they were going to make that run at that legendary 18-0 up against Fnatic in Europe. Now sitting at 11-3, I believe, with another loss this week, this time to Team Liquid.
Yeah, I'm not upset about this loss, though. Team Liquid has been turning it around. Jensen's been playing incredibly well in the mid lane. I feel like Team Liquid's finally finding their stride. On paper, Team Liquid is a very, very, very good team that started off the split incredibly slow. Cloud9, whatever they were drinking, whatever was in their mojo juice, I need them to start drinking it again. They just haven't been playing at their level. Like, you're seeing them make really stupid mistakes. You're seeing them make risky plays that you're sitting there scratching your head going like, this wasn't the same Cloud9 team that we saw 3-4 weeks ago. Obviously, it's the same Cloud9 team we've seen for 3 weeks in a row now, because they've gone 1-1 every week for the past 3 weeks, almost a full month of going 1-1. A lot of questions around this Cloud9 team of, are they going to be able to hold on to their first place position? Now, when you take a look at the standings, they're tied with Team Liquid at 11-3. Liquid's really coming on. TSM is right there in third place at 9-5. They're right there. Cloud9's arch nemesis historically is right there. 2 games out. That's 1 weekend. Cloud9, you have one bad weekend, you're done. TSM is going to be there. You're going to have a bunch of tiebreakers and all this other fun stuff. And then you're going to lose out on positioning. And then you go, there's just so many things going on here. I need Cloud9 to figure this out. I need the players to play better. I need Reaper to figure out the coaching style and what we're going to be doing in the draft, what we're going to be doing, because I'm a part of Cloud9, what they're going to be doing on the Rift during the draft phase. There needs to be less memeing and more winning, please.
Wow, less meaning, more winning. I like it. Yeah, I think like you said, John, losing to Team Liquid is not the end of the world. This is a Team Liquid squad that looks like they've finally returned to form after a very rough spring. I think they ended in 6th place, 7th place over there in spring. Not clean at all. Now coming back, looking much stronger. Broxa is in the flow of things. This Team Liquid squad finally firing on all cylinders, or at least close to all cylinders. So a loss to TL, I don't think is the end of the world. Now, if you're Cloud9, like you said, John, it's been a couple weeks of this. It has not just been a loss here. There was a loss to 100 Thieves, I think was one of them. I don't remember who the other one was, but it was a team that I did not think they should lose to. So overall, they're showing some weakness. And usually for C9 League of Legends squads, they only show weakness around launches of World of Warcraft expansions. So what is the question here? What is the game release that they have been playing and distracting themselves from League of Legends? I don't really know, but hopefully they clean things up. If you're going to look at top teams and leagues, I think C9 is in a much better position than G2 is right now. Yes, they might lose the top seed potentially if they keep this form, but they're going to make playoffs very cleanly. For G2, you're still fighting for that playoff spot. Yes, it's probably likely you make it in there, maybe as a 3 seed, maybe as a 4 seed, but it's still very likely that you make it in there. So I would rather that higher seed, though, that sure percentage that you can make it up there. You're going to get one of those higher seeds, probably most likely. Yes, there's potential you drop down to a third, but I think they can clean things up in time. I would say Reaper is probably one of the best coaches out there in all of League of Legends, especially when it comes to Western League of Legends. So I have plenty of faith they'll turn it around for you. So lots of fun action to watch ahead in esports, guys, whether it be League of Legends, Call of Duty League playoffs, Overwatch League, Valorant, and much, much more. Definitely stay tuned this weekend for some exciting action.
I like how you throw this on me. I just noticed this. I like how this gets thrown on me. All right. We teased it at the beginning of the show. If there's one thing we value, it's feedback. And we love listening to people who enjoy the show, who enjoy our banter, our witty takes, our spicy takes, if you will, here and there. And the show's going on, 3-4 years now, Joey? It's been going on for quite a while. And, we've had some changes throughout the time to kind of change for the better, more for what you guys, our listeners and viewers, want. And one of the big things we've noticed is that there's always a demand for more content, which is kind of tough to do when the show is once a week. We love the live format of the show. We love the spontaneous, the spontaneity. Fun stuff like mispronouncing words and trying to figure out if they're actually a part of the English dictionary. Small stuff like that. It brings some personality to the show. And, on a recorded podcast, yeah, it's a lot of fun. But on a live broadcast, that's when that personality comes out. That's when that friendly banter comes out. And Joey and I, it's been a pleasure working with Joey for years, since we met back in college and now working here on OTN and the LvLUp Podcast. And if there's one thing we're not afraid of is we're not afraid of making certain changes. And I think last week may have been one of those turning points. We got a lot of really great feedback about last week's episode when Grant Paranjape from the Washington Justice joined us for a very spontaneous and random and probably one of, in my opinion, the funniest interviews I've ever been a part of. And it brought some amazing content, brought some banter out. The chat got involved and everything. And so that's one of the things we want to bring to the show more often. We want to have that witty banter. Not only are we taking, giving you the hot takes and gaming and esports news, but we want to bring you more content. We want to bring you more substance, more stuff. Joey, help me out here. I was not prepared for any of this. Take your drink of water here. But is there anything else we need to tease before we actually make these changes public?
I think just one other thing. Well, maybe we can discuss them after. Go ahead and give the rest, and then we'll just discuss a little bit more. So what we're going to do, you want more content. Gee golly gosh dang it, we're going to give you more content. So what we're going to do, starting next week, we're going to start with 2 shows a week. And we're going to see where we're going to go from there. We float around the idea of bringing 3 shows a week. We're not going to make that commitment as of yet. This is still a growing experience, but we're going to be bringing you LvLUp twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, starting next week, the first week of August. With that change, there will also be a time change. Thank God. 7:15 sucks. I'm just going to throw that out there. Joey's rushing home from work in DC. I'm rushing home from the gym after work, trying to not be ticked off at the world before I hop on the podcast. So we're going to switch it to 8 p.m. It's going to be less stressful for us to make sure everything's ready to go and go from there. Second, this episode, as of right now, is approaching 1 hour and 50 minutes. Look, I get it. My attention span is not that long either. 100% agree with you. We're going to try to shrink that down for you. Both of these shows, both of these episodes twice a week, we're looking at 30 to 40 minutes. And with it being broken up, we're going to be able to bring you that content. We're going to be able to bring you more of those witty takes, those spicy takes, more information with more discussion. Also, we're going to be able to have more people on. We're going to have more interviews. We're going to have more people join us on the show to talk about current news, games, esport leagues, so on and so forth, to bring you the best kind of content we possibly can. Again, it's going to be a growing process, but this is where we're going. 2 shows a week starting next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays and Thursdays.
Let's see. Is there anything else I'm thinking about it? Is that some of the reasons behind it? What else are we doing here?
Yeah, I think a few other reasons. So, guys, one thing that we have an issue with only a weekly show once a week is finding topics and hitting them quickly. So, for example, some of the topics we talked about on today's show, they got announced last Tuesday. Like, it takes us so long to get these topics, and some people have already had discussions about them. Heck, there's probably YouTube videos already out there about some of these contents or some of these topics that we have content on. So part of the idea behind it is this will give us more time to discuss those hot topics a little bit quicker as well. So with Monday and Thursday, if that hot news, that big roster move that's going to change the world drops on a Tuesday, now we only have to wait a couple days to talk about it as opposed to a whole week later. So that's one big thing. I think the other thing, John, is the length of show. This goes for our podcast listeners as well. It takes a lot to listen to a 90-minute podcast or more potentially if we do end up going long that week. Like weeks like this where the Xbox Game Showcase is a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a big discussion around that. Some of these episodes will go long. Now with that, if they just want to listen to one episode on their way to work or whatever, or on their way home, it's now a lot easier to cut that up and make it more bite-sized for podcast listeners as well. Live listeners, this is huge for you guys. Now this gives us the ability to maybe have some more fun segments, whether it be fun interviews with people around the esports industry or gaming professionals. Now we have the ability to kind of fit them into the show format a lot cleaner than we did before. On top of that, question and answers. Maybe you guys want to know certain questions and answers from John and I or from guests that we have on the show. Now that ability becomes a lot cleaner because we don't have this set slate of topics that we have to go over every single week. We're still going to bring you the latest news in gaming and esports, but now this gives us the flexibility to say, we're just going to leave this segment open to whatever questions you guys have. Or maybe we're going to talk about the biggest, or maybe we'll throw polls in the audience. Like, what was the biggest game for you guys at the Xbox Game Showcase? We can throw a poll, we can talk about the results, and integrate chat a bit more than we currently do. And that's one of the things we've kind of strayed away from a bit with it being mainly a podcast. It's fun to include chat here and there and send little drops and fun little things. But for the podcast listeners that have no idea what's going on in chat, it loses a little bit of that fun. The other thing that we've tried to do on here, and it's been tough because of podcast listeners, is showing trailers and things. With us going to a bit more of a live format, we can add a little bit more of that in here, whether it be like a big trailer that dropped one week. Maybe we cut that segment in. The podcast listeners will still get that content through an audio version, but it does allow for a little bit more, I'm not going to say exclusivity, but a little bit more of an enhancement here for the live audience as well. So I think there's a lot of fun things, and this is kind of just the beginning. We're going to test it out. If you guys say, 2 shows is way too much, even if they're half an hour or whatever each week, then we'll say, okay, we'll go back to one longer show a week and we'll see what happens. But at least for now, I think John and I are both pretty excited about this idea. We did slightly change up the name and logo as well. John, you want to go over that next?
Yeah. So again, obviously the podcast is going nowhere. If you're a podcast listener, we love you. You guys are awesome. The podcast is still going to be there. You're still going to get that audio content. It is going to take a small twist. We're going to be focusing more on the live show because we want to interact with the community. Interaction is key to building a great community and a great audience. So LvLUp Podcast makes sense. The podcast, the audio version is still going to be called the LvLUp Podcast. But for our live audience, we wanted to spice things up a little bit. So we're making, it's not a rebrand per se, Joey. It's more just of a, I would say just a tweak here and there.
It's a fresh look.
It's a fresh look. So just to give you guys a little sample, we worked on some things because once my brain starts going, I stay up to about 5 a.m. and then pull an all-nighter because, hashtag adulting. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw it up there. We'll look at feedback, but essentially because we are going to be focusing on the live version of the show a little bit more. Again, audio is still going to be there. Don't worry. We figured that live should probably be a part of the title. So without further ado, we'll see how well this works. Because when I tested it out early, it actually kind of overlaid kind of cool when I made this switch. All right. So we're making a change. Introducing LvLUp Live. So LvLUp Live is exactly what we just said. We're focusing more on the live version of this show. Twice a week, starting out. If it takes off, people love it. Who knows? We may expand it. It's something we're incredibly passionate about. We wouldn't have been doing 180 episodes if we weren't. It's something that Joey and I both look forward to every single Monday. We may hate Mondays as a day of the week, but this is the best way for us to cap a Monday. We're super excited. and T-Spans is already half asleep. So that's completely cool. So yeah, it's a fresh new look. We're I love it. T-Spans, that's one of the things I like about T-Spans. He's very blunt and very honest. So yes, it's essentially just a small tweak to what we already have. We're happy with the branding. We're happy with the name. So our social media has changed to reflect this change as well. Our Twitter handle is at LvLUp Live. You may have noticed if you tuned in here on Twitch, the Twitch channel went from OTN_live to OTN Media, OTN Media being the overall parent company. It's something we're trying to make things more uniform so it's easier to find everything we're doing. And so hopefully you guys enjoy the change. Joey and I are incredibly excited for this. We're gung-ho about it. We're very, very motivated to bring you this new change going forward. And hopefully you guys will be here with us for the ride as we expand into this new chapter, or if you're Valorant, the new act of LvLUp, now with LvLUp Live. And hopefully we can get things going here. Joey, anything else you want to add in there? I know next week is going to be here sooner rather than later. I'm pretty hyped about it, though.
Yeah, and I just want to say it's a small change. Obviously,
Very small.
We're still keeping it LvLUp for the podcast listeners. That's where the majority of our listenership, I believe that's a word, is over there on Apple, iTunes, Google Play, all those different podcast platforms. But LvLUp Live allows us, like John said, to kind of focus more on that live audience. We pretty much kept the similar logo. We did a little turning here and there, a nice little spice up here and there as well. We have some cool symbolism behind the logo that we'll probably touch on at some point too later on down the road. But for now, it's just something simple. And again, we're taking feedback. If 2 shows is not what you guys want, if shorter shows is not what you guys want, split out across the week, we're free to listen to that. We can obviously go back if need be, if that's what the listeners want. The logo is another thing. We like the logo. We like the new look on the logo. But again, if people want us to change it or look at different ways to re-ramp potentially, we're completely open to that as well. So feedback is definitely going to be listened to. So feel free to give that. Maybe we'll do a survey as well later down the road. But for now, we're at least going to test things. So like John said, starting in August, new name, new show, at least for the live audience, kicking things off with a new logo and the new layout. Some more of that will come down the road as well. We got some things baked up there too. But overall, I'm excited. I think we're both excited. I think a number of listeners are excited, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to move forward with.
And if you notice that lower right-hand corner, that hashtag LvLUp Live, that is going to be a monitored hashtag. We're going to be paying attention to that constantly. If you see something, you feel free to throw a hashtag on it. We'll be monitoring almost 24/7, except when we're sleeping. So definitely start using that. We're going to be using it on social media as well. We're really, really excited for this change, for what we believe is what the community is asking for going forward. So please go. So T-Spans, it looks off-center because LvLUp and Live are different lettering. Joey and I went over this like crazy. That is perfectly centered. I don't even want to hear about it. LvLUp is 5 letters, Live is 4. That's why it looks off-centered. Stop it. I'm not going to argue with you. Joey, I'm going to end the show right now. I'm done with this. We'll argue on Discord. How about that, T-Spans? I'm completely cool with that. Well, Nation, that will do it for another episode of the LvLUp Podcast. But before you go, head on over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you'll get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are a part of the Overtime Network. If you enjoy listening to the LvLUp Podcast, let us know. Leave us a review on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and or Google Play. We would love to hear from you. And we love to hear from our listeners so much, and we take everything into account that you give us in terms of feedback. So if you have that feedback and you want to provide us more feedback, Joey, where else can LvLUp Nation go to provide us feedback for the 18th time?
LvLUp Nation, hit us up on that new Twitter profile, and that is at LvLUp Live. It's spelled just like it sounds, just LvLUP Live. Go ahead and check that out, as well as following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for the network as well, and that is at OTN Media. Last but not least, hit us with a follow on Twitch. We'll be streaming this show live Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m., as well as some other content throughout the week. That is twitch.tv/OTN Media.
All right, make sure you tune in next week as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news twice a week starting next week. Do not miss it. Slap that notification bell on Twitch and do your user a favor and hit that subscribe button to know when the next episode of the LvLUp Podcast is ready for your listening and viewing pleasures. We'll catch you all next week. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online, and as always,
Level up.